there 2 days before the wildfires started. And it's just been a sequence of things that happened in my life and that I've noticed that made me realize how thoroughly broken the insurance industry is. And so I wanted to just kick off a conversation, but not just complain. I wanted to suggest that there may be things we can do about it. So the way I see it, it kind of comes down to the crux of this idea of perverse business incentives and misalignment. And like, would you ever go to a mechanic where like their revenue model, they're getting paid more to smash your car? Or like, would you ever go to a doctor where, you go there to get healed and they're prescribing poison because that's their revenue model? And arguably maybe big pharma, that's how kind of it works now, but this is what insurance is right now. It's kind of evolved. I think it started with the right intention. I think it's evolved to a point where it's just so extractive and so all about like, how do we optimize? And if you think about it, like you're hiring a provider whose motives are to basically deny your coverage. You're paying them premiums and then they're in the business of denying your claims. And so I don't know if anyone's had personal experience with this. I had a situation, if there's enough time, I'll tell you about it at the end. But I'm gonna tell you a few stories. Did this make headlines here? I was in the US when this happened. Do people know who this is? Yeah, Luigi Mangione, this guy assassinated basically the CEO of United Healthcare, allegedly. And this guy, leaving behind like a widow and a child, and it's disgusting, it's terrible. But I think what's interesting is the public reaction to this. The next couple days, a DJ in Boston like threw pictures of him up on the screen to a roaring crowd of people cheering. And this guy is getting like idolized. These posters went up in New York a few days after that, basically calling for copycat crimes to the other CEOs of healthcare or health insurance organizations. So just like these memes and stuff, and all this came around, and you think like, are we just animals? Like, what's wrong with humanity? And like, agreed, this is awful, like atrocious, do not condone it. But then you start researching what this dude's situation was. He apparently was struggling for 10 months with this condition that I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. But ironically, I had a similar thing for a month. My situation, this is like a debilitating spinal thing with nerve pain. I had, in my own situation back in 2021, I had a severe L5-S1 compression, and it created this herniated disc that was pushing on my spinal nerve. That the only way I can describe it is like having your leg on fire, your back and your leg on fire 24/7. I slept like 2 hours a night trying to find a way to sleep, like a position that I could fall asleep in. And so it's like, I don't condone what this guy did, but I get it. Like he had 10 months of that trying to get the procedure authorized with his insurance company, a company that he paid for precisely a situation to cover him in this, and he couldn't get it done. And so like, I get why people go on OxyContin and why people go postal and off themselves. And so I don't condone it, but I get it. And I think it's just interesting, like mainstream media is struggling with how to process this, right? Because I think they realize that we're like on this precipice of almost like the next Occupy Wall Street. When you look at the public outrage and like the endorsement of this guy and considering what he did, they gave him the full on like Osama bin Laden treatment here media-wise. If you think about it, they're like plastering these images. And they do that to make sure that this does not trigger the Occupy Wall Street moment, right? The rebellion, like people uprising and just being fed up with how insurance works. And I think you can only oppress a population so long before that happens. I'm gonna share this. This is a personal story, and I got permission to share it, but like the people that I stayed with in Venice Beach with the wildfires, this is Christina. She lost her sister. She died May 28th. She was diagnosed in April with this pico aneurysm, this like fluke thing. There was a brain, totally solvable, and petitioned for four weeks. She was a waitress, didn't have the greatest insurance, and finally got scheduled for surgery in June and died a week before that. So like, what are we doing? Like, this is not the way it's supposed to work. I feel like there's this weather vane and like we can detect the wind is changing and like people are just sick of this. If you look at the history, like this was insurance back in the day. Like if your barn burned down, like the village came out and rebuilt your barn, right? Like let's get back to that. That's what insurance is supposed to be about. This is Lloyd's of London. Like I'll try to go fast because I know we don't have a lot of time, but like this emerged in, 1688 as an answer. It was a coffee shop that opened up with merchants and ship owners and underwriters all getting together and talking about like, how do we protect cargo? How do we make this work in a coffee shop? And it evolved into an industry around this, like a marketplace formalizing that. And basically people betting on the things, and like free market solved it. And so, cool, that's interesting, that's a good way to do it. But I think the problem is it's evolved into this absolute like rat race of like extractive practices, right? And there's nothing wrong with for-profit. I'm a capitalist, I'm an entrepreneur, I get it. Like I think free market is amazing. But like just when you look at the stats and you look at like, I think the problem is that it's become like public companies. So there's always this pressure cooker, like trying to get more profit out of it, and you're obligated to your shareholders. And so these companies, through no fault of their own, are then pressured into these scenarios of like, let's not do this, let's get a rack of servers and run risk model assessments and figure out how we can like deny more claims. Which, by the way, a lot of those people in the LA wildfires were like 30%, they predict, are uninsured, because on January 1st, they actually did these calculations and revoked a bunch of their coverage. So I'll try to accelerate here. But like the point is like, I feel like we're strip mining humanity of vitality and wealth with these companies. And it's not right. This is like, wasn't the original intention. It's evolved to this point wrongfully. And we've solved it. Like lending is a good analogy. We've solved it in the world of lending. If you think about, we used to go to a bank, like the only way to get a loan, you had to go to a bank where everyone had their deposits, and then the bank's the central authority loaning it out. And it's like, we have these Web3 protocols with Maker and Compound and Aave that now are just like, I consider this a solved problem. Lending is actually already solved. Why can't we do it for insurance? Like, why can't we get back to this mentality? And there's products out there that are attempting to do this. I think these ones that I discovered are the closest. But like, let's fix this. Like, let's do something about this is my attitude. I don't know if people have ever seen this. I won't play it, but this is Steve Jobs. If you ever get a chance, just look up like Steve Jobs, Poke the Universe, I think. We'll make it come up. But he's basically saying it's like, we're born into this world that seems set, but it's not. Like, everything here around you is made by people, and we can change this stuff. So let's do it. Like, and I'll just leave with this. Like, these are two groups that I run actually out of this space. They're coming up. We partnered to do these events. They're going to be a pair of them happening monthly going forward. We've already done a number of them. But yeah, I'm like, Feb 4th, if you're around and you're interested in this, we're going to use the AI builder tools. I'm going to teach people how to actually build prototypes in an hour and a half, where you can actually get an idea for an app and then crank it out and actually have something usable that's functional in an hour and a half. And then whatever we build that night, we're going to actually throw into this idea of taking it forward with a small team. So does this resonate with anyone? Like, does anyone, if you're into this kind of thing, you want to actually work on solving some of this stuff, I'll leave these up here. You can join the events that way. But you guys, like, the point is, Steve Jobs is right. Like, this is moldable fabric. Like, we can change every aspect. If it's screwed up like this, like, let's make it better. And okay, I'm over time, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Questions?